Hello, beautiful people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you here today. I'm so excited to share. Today, we will be having Cindy Smith live with us, and we're going to be talking about trusting the decisions that you make, ever doubting if you can do things, technical troubles, and why new age spiritual people have so much challenge with that. We're going to do that one on the fly because we're not quite sure. We had so many challenges getting on this call today. And we're going to dive into how you can trust your intuition more and get into a space where you are living in a place where all of the areas of your life are aligned in a wonderful way and you really feel happy and joyful in your life on a regular basis. Our guest today is Cindy Smith, and she is the founder of Angel Empowerment Practitioner Certification Course and the co-founder with Dr. Carl LaRoe of the Angel Empowerment Hands-On Healing Program. She also just launched a new angel card deck or crystal card deck, and Cindy assists individuals to understand how easy it is to trust their own intuition and divine guidance, and with the angel empowerment tools, how to own their health and wellness by healing and harmonizing every aspect of their life, and ultimately learning to really trust themselves. Cindy has a background in nursing and counseling, as well as a master's in NLP, and she teaches a concrete form of information combined with intuitive gifts to present a balanced approach to angel empowerment. Her life purpose and passion is to teach others how to access these states, and one of the most powerful experiences for her as an instructor is to help individuals move from I can't to I can. Cindy will be joining us shortly. Let me just make sure we're all connected and get her in here. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the show and part of this experience. One moment. Okay. We're going to... Okay. So Cindy, I can hear you. Just checking in on the live so we can get connected with these guys. Hi, Mark. Good to see you here.
Can you hear me, Alina?
I can hear you on Zoom. I cannot yet see you on the live. Do you need help getting connected?
Okay. It says all of a sudden I've got watch party, Cindy Smith, watch party.
Okay. Are you still on the Facebook page that is like my personal profile?
Yes, I do. Sorry, everyone.
That's okay. We're just in progress. One of the things we're talking about today is why digital stuff can be so challenging for people who are so intuitive. So it's...
I think I'm going to go at it. Yes, I'm on your personal profile.
Okay.
Just a sec. Where are you? Yes.
Okay. Just click into that live and you should be able to see me there.
I see you.
Great. So
here it is. Request to appear in...
Yes.
Request to hear in your live video.
Oh my God, it's working. I love when it works. Okay, awesome.
I said add.
Okay, I'm gonna click the bring you on camera. Add you in there. Here, behold, Cindy Smith. Soon. Oh, she's gonna pop in on the other side anyway. There we go. There we go.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Oh my
Woo-hoo!
God. Woo.
Well,
What an
everyone.
adventure. What an adventure that was today. I want to apologize to everybody who's expecting to see us at 11:11 today. We have literally been working since 11:11 to figure out how to get on here together.
Yes.
And it's okay because sometimes things that really matter take time. And sometimes, we decide, it's the theme of today is like we decide to do something. We could have given up. We could have said, no, I'm not doing it anymore. But we just kept working at it. And now here we are. I'm so happy. I'm so
Well,
grateful that you just kept going with me too.
well, thank you, Elena, for being patient with me, because when it comes to doing Facebook Lives, I've never joined one before. So everybody, this was completely new. And one of the things that I said, sometimes when we're running a lot of vibration, and I did my prep before we were going to do our call, and I find sometimes technology can go sideways when we're running a lot of vibration. So thank you for your patience. We will
You're
get a
welcome.
laugh out of this.
I think we are. You and I certainly already have.
Yes,
It's just
we
been a while. So I'm so glad that I'm so glad we got it working. So glad. Uh, well, I mean, it's a great example. Like one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today was this piece of like commitment, like committing to do something and then backing away, hearing that voice of intuition, being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then something happens that kind of flips us out. A lot of the time for people who are in the intuitive and spiritual communities, it is technology that stops them from doing that.
Yes.
And can you speak a little bit about like that voice of intuition, how you got started in that, and like why do people back away from that?
Well, I think so. For my belief system is that we all are paying attention. The inner voice, the certain things that happen in our world. It's just when we start to define um, how easy it can be if we actually start to pay attention more to our senses. So I guess I'll just share what started me on this path, and then I'll go into, I call it practical intuition, because really it's practical intuition that we all use. But back in 2007, so that's a while ago now, I was going to buy a deck for an angel card deck for my mom. We'd heard about an angel card deck, and I'd never heard anything about angel card decks. And it was back when I was in Powell River, BC, and I went to our local bookstore. And while I was in there, I asked for where the decks were, and when I went to the section and I picked up a deck for the very first time, I heard what I call the booming voice from the outside, and it was in a male voice, and it said, "Those are for you." And it was in a different tone, a different pitch, a different volume. And I come from the counseling world. I come from mental health background. And I thought, what is going on? I actually thought that Candid Camera had come to Powell River, BC.
Right, it was in
And they
the
were
shop
trying to,
playing the
they were
drummer.
filming me. If only we would have been filmed. However, basically what happened is I walked around the store, went back to the decks, picked up another totally different deck. Nothing happened, and I picked up that same deck again in my hand, and I got the same booming voice. "Those are for you." Now, I was in freak out mode. And part of it is I'm
I get
thinking,
chills.
what do you mean I've got voices talking to me? And so here's where sometimes we make that choice. Now, I could have ignored it. I could have said,
Right.
I'm under a lot of stress. Um, I have no idea why this voice is talking to me. I could have put that deck back on the shelf and walked out the door. But
Yeah.
basically, I trusted in knowing that this wasn't my norm. And obviously there was some vibration that was really wanting to get my attention. And I bought the deck. But it still took me 3 weeks to have the courage to open that deck and learn about it. And that started my journey.
Hmm.
Okay, so think about um, what would have happened. So here we are, I've been doing my business now for over 11 years. If I would have put that deck back on the deck, and put it on the shelf and walked out of the door and said, I'm just under stress. So when I say there are times, because I always teach about 4 senses that we use: pictures that we see within our mind's eye, the voices, the thoughts. Only 5-10% of my communication ever comes in a different tone or pitch. Most of the time, my angel team is communicating me with just thoughts. We have our
Hmm.
feelings, that gut feeling. Are you paying attention to it? Because over the years of me working with people, that seems to be the one thing that people will get themselves sidetracked, is when
Hmm.
they override their own intuition. And
Right.
it's so easy for us to do. No, that just doesn't make sense, that I'm feeling that way. And then we override it. So,
Yeah.
and then there's the claircognizance. And the claircognizance is basically what I refer to as your divine knowing. You just know it without any proof.
Oh, I feel all wiggly on the inside when you say that. It's like, ooh, yeah, I know
So,
that feeling. And if people who are watching know that feeling, like, just put a yes in the comments. It's like one of the things that I think has really stopped a lot of people from exploring their intuition is feeling like it's super weird and it's not something that's really common. When
right.
in reality, we all have an intuition. Just depends on how tuned into it we are and how much we follow that, right?
Yes.
Maybe you hear those suggestions all the time and you just don't listen. But when you start to listen, you start to trust them more, and you have more. So if you've had an
Yes.
experience like that, just like, you welcome to share those stories here. Welcome to just say, yeah, I've had a moment like that.
And it'll be those, what we refer to as those aha moments, that something outside of ourselves is also there assisting us. So like I
Hmm.
refer to guardian angels as my intuition. So my belief system
Hmm.
is that everybody, no matter what their belief system is, has a guardian angel team with them. And they're angels are messengers of higher power, God, creator, whatever term you want to use. And they're gifted to us, and they stay with us. They're not trucking off and going to hang out with anybody else. So they are part of our intuition. They are part of us. And when I realized that I had over all my life been getting different signs and feelings and knowings, and it was my team that was helping me, that's when my life changed. And in a way that's when I really started to trust my own self and empower me. So that's why I do all that I do, is
Hmm.
because I really want people to empower themselves.
Right. Because there's one thing to get wisdom from another person, it's one thing to seek guidance from an intuitive or a medium, and to have, a piece of information come forward. But when we do that, when we ask somebody else for that advice, we're always comparing it to what we really know on the inside. And so when you
Yes.
go to see, a clairvoyant or an intuitive guide or angel card reader or whatever that might be, really we're looking, okay, I'm getting information from the outside. I trust it. I'm saying I trust it more than my own intuition from the inside, which is a little wonky, if you ask me.
Yes.
But then we're comparing that to what it is that we know to be true, and we go, oh yeah, they said that thing and that's right. Then we're able to say, okay, now I can trust my own intuition. And I think that's a huge part of the value of going to see those kind of people who are really tapped in and attuned to continuing to receive that information. The people that I know who are just sort of in that beginning phases of learning to be card readers for other people, there's
Yep.
a lot of hesitancy of like, I hear these things, but am I really gonna say them out loud? And if I say them out loud, are they gonna be true? I had an expensive mistake where I didn't listen to my intuition. In the last week, my partner and I are renoing the van that we're living out of, and I went to go help him with moving something, and he, in his mind, was like, "Oh my God, she's gonna help me, and we're gonna break the window," and he didn't say anything. And then I started helping and moving the wood, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, we have to slow down," and I didn't say anything. And then like 15 seconds later, the corner goes into the window cracks, and we had to pay to get the window completely replaced because we broke it because neither of us listened. And
Right.
it's like those moments where it's like we have moments, we heard, we listened. I've broken 2 windows that way in my life, actually. The other one was a rock like this big. It's like I heard it, I felt it, I sensed it, whatever, maybe 15, 30 seconds before it happened. And I was like, oh, well, oh, I heard a thing, that's nice, and then moved on to the day.
Yes.
So just like a really practical, really right now example from my life of how when we don't listen, sometimes things happen that are challenging.
Yes.
And when we do listen, we can be saved from those experiences. Like there is a team there saying, "Hey, you're gonna break the window. Don't do that." Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So why do you think? Oh, go ahead.
part of it is just remembering to ask too, right? Like it's
Mm,
you, because the team really needs permission to be able to also work with you, to support you on those times, to um, keep you out of harm's way and keep you out of
yeah.
those things happening. And so that's why
Yeah.
if I, as simple as I can think of an experience that I share is, this was a few years ago. The kids and I, we were in my van, we were driving on number 2 highway, and I heard Archangel Michael and my team say, pull over. Now, if you hear something that specific, pull over, I pulled off to the side. It was dark, it was nighttime, and I heard 60 seconds, just that basic. I didn't ask why. I
Mm-hmm.
just trusted and I did it. Now, some people would say, well, didn't you want to know why? No. I mean, it could have been as simple as there was going to be a deer jump out in front of me. Um,
Yeah.
and my kids, they just got so used to those kind of things happening that they just knew that mom's being guided to do something. And so
Yeah.
I've just learned over the years, no second guessing it. Because some
Mm,
people say, did I just make that up because I'm a little worried that there's going to
yeah.
be a deer that jumps out in the road? And so never second guess yourself. If you're thinking something's going to happen and you get the sense, even if you don't hear it as clear as I do, still pull
Yeah.
over. Do
Yeah.
turn a
Yeah.
right turn instead of a left turn because they're
Yeah.
assisting you. And part of it is it's just us paying attention. So,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
and back to, in my, one of the things that I love to do is I get to teach empowerment, angel empowerment, and teach practitioners. And I can tell you over the thousands of clients and students that I've worked with is one of the things that happens when people do go for a private session with an intuitive, a card reader, the biggest percent of what happens is just confirmation. It's things that people already know, and all they really want is confirmation that they're on the right track. And
Yeah.
as an angel card reader, that's basically what we do. We're there to give the guidance that is coming through from the client's angels to the
Right.
client, and 80% of it, 75% of it's already confirmation that they already know. It just either brings it
Yeah.
right to the forefront or it's just confirming they're on the right track. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to say
They need to
that.
hear it.
Yes.
They
uh,
need to hear it sometimes from somebody else in order to
yes,
go, oh, okay,
because
that's right.
that's that
Like if there
ego.
had been somebody else, if there'd been somebody else in the car with me when I was driving down the highway and it was like change lanes, and I was just like, huh, what? Right?
Yeah.
And it's like if there'd been somebody else in the car with me that was like, I think we should change lanes, like right at that same time. Well, I mean, from the way that you operate and the way that you say at it, like there are guides and angels in that car with me, and they're like, change lanes, you
Right.
know,
Yes.
right? And so when we can start to see that intuitive experience as or feel those angels with us as more of like real beings that are there as opposed to this is something strange or weird or something that I shouldn't trust or something that I shouldn't um, feel connected to or be able to trust, then we're able to get those messages and listen to them and have the path be
Yes.
flower and easier. Why do you think that people, like, what's the most common thing you see from people in terms of not trusting that? Like, what do you hear from people that stops them from trusting that?
Because they just think they've made it up, or
Hmm.
they, how can that be true? Or the most common is, it's just we override what we think is our truth. It's, from simple things to big things. And it can be as simple as, I think part of it too, it has to do with belief systems, and it depends on how we were raised. There's so many things that come into play on paying attention to our inner voice, paying attention to the,
Hmm.
our own intuitive. So there's so many aspects of people's lives that will come into play in really trusting in themselves. And
Hmm.
I think part of, for the basic that, I teach people to do angel card readings, but what I witness from the students, when they, even if they never plan on giving somebody else a card reading, but when they learn how to do it, it gives them that confirmation that what they're hearing is correct, right? Because you're going to get that,
Hmm.
you get that feedback when even you're practicing with fellow students. And so it really develops confidence in people. Um,
Hmm.
so that's part of why I really do what I do. Yes.
Hmm.
Confidence
Hmm.
and trusting.
Confidence and trusting in that intuitive. We have a solid chunk of like moms that watch this. If you could give a piece of advice to moms who are wanting to create a culture for their children that really supports them staying connected to that intuition, what kind of what advice would you give to them?
When it comes to children, the best advice I can do to say for you is trust in what your kids are telling you. And
Hmm.
the things is pay attention to them, because they haven't developed the filters at certain ages. And so pay attention to what they're telling you, because if they're telling you something, they didn't make it up. You know, um,
Hmm.
it's paying attention and saying, and when they share something, it's complimenting them in a way that will make sense to you and your child, on really backing them up on what they believe. Okay, so if
Hmm.
any, as silly as this might sound, if they see something and they say, a circle is like a square, and you're going, no, 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 it's a circle. Well, there's got to be a reason that they're wanting to share about the square. And so sometimes what we do as parents is, we want them to do well in school, and we want them to fit in with other kids, and sometimes we'll override our children's
Hmm.
intuitive. And so the more you
Right.
can nurture their own intuitive when they're young, that makes it so much
Yeah.
easier when they're away from you, because you want to teach them to
Hmm.
really trust in their gut. You want them to trust
Yeah.
in their inner voice, and make it normal, as that
Right.
it's normal. So
Yeah.
yeah, I could go
I've
days
got a
on
great
working with kids. How to help.
I've got a I've got a great example of that one, which would be my son Alex. When we were living in Mexico, we would walk from our house to a place where we'd meet up with friends to go to his like preschool program, and I would often, very much in my logical, rational thinking mind, be like, "We need to go. We're late. Hurry up, etc., etc., etc." And he would sometimes just be like, "No, mom, I just want to sit here." And I'd be like, right, my rational mind is
Yeah.
like, this is not okay. No, 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 no. And sometimes when I pushed him, he would fall and get hurt, and we would have to sit anyways,
Yeah.
which was like not a great moment. But it's like after a while, I was like, oh, when I push him, this happens. I started paying attention. Not physically push him, obviously, but like push him to keep walking. Um, and he, more often than not, what would happen was a golf cart would come by and we would stick our thumbs out and be like, hey, we need a ride. And they would pick us up. And we would keep going. And it was like the days when he was like, let's pause, we would catch somebody right at the corner. We'd catch somebody coming from a different direction that we wouldn't have caught them if we had kept hurrying on our walking. And for me, that was a really great example of like, I needed to listen to his intuition. His intuition was stronger than mine at that point in our lives because he was still connected to it. And it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to listen. We're going to, and over time, over like too many repetitions of me being like, come on, let's go. I started to learn and to trust that if I listened to his timing, we would either run into somebody really magical and have a really great experience, get picked up by the same person day after day after day, or just have a phone call come in, just making sure that you can
Okay.
still see me, they can still see me, everybody can still hear everybody.
Yes.
Great.
I can see you.
Good.
You're just not moving.
Oh, man.
It's
I'm just not
electronics.
moving.